Alright, here we go. So we got a little bit newer players in this match, and it's on a map I've never seen before, Yukon. It's another call map. It's the same designer who made Honeycomb and Arroyo, which are both great maps. So I'm looking forward to this, and we'll see what each side decides to bring. Oh, okay, I have seen this before. This is sort of interesting. Pillars has a vertical setup with an open space in the middle that kind of drives you through the center. This map, on the other hand, has this big giant rock going down the middle. It really separates the left side with C and E here from the BD side. Going over this big rock without sensor coverage is going to be a dangerous undertaking. Don't want to pop out in range of a beam or plasma. So a careful deployment is really going to give one team or the other an advantage. And Team 1 is OSP. This is a lot of ships for ANS. I'm trying to see it. It doesn't look like one particular person has a swarm or something. I'm seeing tickers all over the place. So this will be really interesting. At least by number of formations, I think they actually outnumber the OSP, which is unusual. I'm assuming, let's see, probably we have a container player. It looks like it might be the CLN Kuki genre with that single ship. There's no escorts and there's no other tickers for him. So that definitely brings the count down. SLDF, trying to remember if I've seen that player before. Anyway, here we've got nice look at a beam battleship. Really nice coloring on this map. I like this dark, a little bit sparkly blue. So we've got one Shaggy Grandma bringing in the 450 BB. Looks pretty standard. It's got Mark 62s on it, so have to keep an eye on that. Recent patch came through. It did nerf RPF. That's the anti-missile fire coming out of the 120 and 250 millimeter cannons. That should be reduced in effectiveness. An Aurora on this 450 bottom, S2 top Axford. So we've got a heavy attack. We've got some missile support. Over here, this is an S3H and one single 250 on the top. Guess he didn't want to be left out in the cold once all of his missiles are shot. And both these fleets come with, looks like, an assortment of capping corvettes. This is a point defense frigate, and then we have an E-War frigate, or a corvette, and another E-War corvette. So well balanced so far on the ANS side. HRE here looks like one rail DD for a little bit of support, and that will be covering a 250 gun CL with the backpack. S3Hs, as you do. And with that, looks like a couple of armed corvettes. These are E-War. Looks like these are, yes, in a formation with the gun CL, so they are going to be covering it. On the other side, yep, here's the container ship like we suspected. Got some decoys, no mines, a lot of S3s, or containers rather. Have to see how well those pan out, and if he singles out the battleship, that could be particularly devastating. BSQD here, plasma plus rockets, interesting choice. Rockets also just received a nerf. their armor penetration is no longer high enough to go straight through battleships or even Axfords, so they must get successive hits or land in armor that's been damaged by plasma. So perhaps that is his plan. Meanwhile, SLDF, we've got a Rail Acello. I'm a fan of the Rail Acello. I feel like it is a lot more effective against the ANS capitals than it is against anything the OSP has, just because there are less hulls. And probably not the case here, but a beam battleship, for example, taking ANS railfire can have its reactors shut down, can have its beams critted out to where they do less damage. It can be really effective. That's going with a mixture of plasma, rails, a little bit of everything here. We've got T-30s. Looks like a growler on the front, or grazer on the front there. It's an interesting little fleet. And then we have, looks like a modified Task Force Garnet with the plasma on the nose and the T-30s top and bottom. That's going along with an LRT. Not a whole lot of spotting happening here. We've got one EWR and one LRT. That's going to leave the OSP side with a pretty big intel deficit here. Definitely, they could have benefited a lot from having another EWR on this other flank that, well, it looks like they've lucked out slightly, and the ANS is heavily investing into this side here. Meanwhile, I'm going to guess this is the armed Corvette. Yep, it's got Mark 62s there, and this is Ewar giving it a little bit of cover. So they do have back cap protection from a lone shuttle. Unfortunately for them, a lone shuttle is not what's coming. We have this Rail Acello with its monitor escorts pushing up. No one capping B yet. That's going to put Team 1 in an awkward position. They, through a combination of these slow monitors and a little bit of a misdeployment here on this right-hand side, haven't captured any of their natural points yet. Already in the hole, probably going to be over 50 points by the time they do get it. It's unfortunate, but let's see. As far as deployment, oh, here comes a rocket strike out on this CL. That is a very long distance for these rockets to travel. If this CL changes course at all, it's going to have no problems dodging them. Looks like they're fried the thrusters. All of these rockets going to miss by a mile. Plasma even can't hit at this range. That's unfortunate. Meanwhile, let's see if the correct caliber weapon is being shot here. Now, every ship has basically received somewhat of a nerf to its mobility. Flank speed. Hey, not so lone wolf. What's up? Flank speed just receiving a reduction in how it applies its acceleration. Oh, here come more rockets. Thruster's firing again. Let's see if he can dodge. It looks like he has plenty of time. Still a very long way for these rockets to go. And there they are sailing past. Unfortunately, not connecting with this CL. Managed to do a little bit of damage with that plasma, but it's nothing too bad. Meanwhile, it looks like we missed a Corvette, possibly getting sniped out here. More rockets coming in. This Corvette's asleep at the wheel, and it eats those heartily into its rear side. Completely dead on that one. Not quite sure why that. Perhaps it had its formation broken with its CL. It definitely wasn't moving. Meanwhile, these are. These monitors continuing to push in. They don't have many rockets left, but they want this CL. CL doing a good job Here come out some rockets firing on this Corvette. Looks like based on the success he had before, he wants another. Unfortunately, this one is maneuvering, so it will dodge all those rockets. And that leaves still a good amount of, well, not so many rockets. Someone didn't use the new evade. That's completely correct. So for anyone having not read the patch notes, evade now if you... Oh, finally the rockets connect. Looks like the maneuvering was neglected just for a moment there. Possibly he was distracted by all of these containers coming in. That's almost certainly what happened. Thought perhaps that the monitors were out of rockets, and just that moment of concentration being stolen away by having to pay attention to something else has left this CL completely crippled. That's going to leave E to fall into the hands of OSP. A good pickup for them if they would only cap this natural. I'm sure they could turn that into a lead. There's this Axford, but it's a little bit out of position, and it has containers coming for it. Looks like some of those will connect. More than one, dealing a lot of damage there. Looks like this monitor has been taken out by this 450 battleship, but it has containers on its way. Unfortunately, it only has the Mark 62s plus an Aurora. They don't have a good firing angle on that front arc. Here they come slamming in, dealing just massive damage. Hey, Quiet Cadence. Thanks for the follow. Not taken out of the fight, but a good bit of damage for sure. And that's going to leave that battleship in a really bad position. More rockets coming in on this already dead CL. It is maneuvering, though. It hadn't heard no bell. It's going to stay in there. And here come some S2s from the monitors. Shouldn't have too much problem getting through. Looks like the point defense on its left side is still up, though. And there goes that CL. It's out of the fight. So at this point in the game, all the major fleet positions have been revealed through fire. We have this BB, which has taken a hit. This Axford, which has taken a hit. It's really a case of the containers and these rockets from these monitors just coming in, completely overwhelming the point defense. Spaceships go burr, that's right. We love spaceships burr. And you see this, it's very typical of games and players that haven't had a lot of hours in the game, aren't familiar with all of the PD options and how to set them up. Not that there's anything wrong per se with that. It's just a case of something that often happens where the missiles and the rockets and the containers are able to score a lot more. And here come in more containers slamming into that frigate. It's taken out. Axford continuing to take hits. It's getting shot by plasma now. Let's check in on that BB. Looks like the BB hasn't been harassed by too many more containers. This container player instead opting to focus on this Axford. It's certainly the closer target. And perhaps more threatening. It is bearing down on E right now. Unfortunately, all of its weapons are down. It's not able to launch missiles or fire its main cannon. It's moving ever closer. Here come out more rockets. It's not going to be doing any dodging at that range. And even more rockets and even more containers spell certain doom for that Axford. With that, cleaning up this right flank, go ahead and tentatively call this battle already for the OSP. They've lost one monitor and fired pretty much all their rockets, but in return, they've taken out basically 2 fleets at this point. Looks like those containers slamming into this. For those unfamiliar, you can absolutely tell that a ship has been killed a couple of different ways. One of the best is whenever they launch these little lifeboats, these little life pods. It's nice, you can see the rescue on them. Whenever those come out of a ship, it is 100% dead. No way can it come back into the fight. So if ever you see a lot of radar targets kind of spew forth, yeah, maybe a fleet and a half. If you ever see that, odds are it is life pods. It could be. Whoa, there goes the Axford into a beautiful ball of particles. Odds are life pod. That's fine, Lone Wolf. You're good. Yeah, if odds are it's life pods, it could be missiles, but if they don't come towards you, they kind of just fly out into the back, into the black. You can assume that those are life pods and that ship is dead. So at this point, one complete fleet plus the attack portion of HRE here still has this rail DD, has a couple of Sarisses on it, so really the rail, its only weapon. It's firing at these monitors. They're also taking fire from the 450 battleship. Here comes some S3Hs. Looks like they got launched from the CL. Not seeing any hits. There goes one. And a couple more. Nice. That one went in right through the snoot. Blew up the whole thing. Down the axis. Bow to stern. And looks like also managed to take out this one. Its CIC's down. Doesn't have any restores. It is dead. That leaves 2 monitors still alive to threaten this battleship. Meanwhile, this battleship not really interested in maneuvering. Can't remember if I finished my sentence from earlier. There's a new change with this patch. If you hit the evade button and set your ships to evade, even if they're not moving now, they'll randomly juke left or right or up or down. Could save you from some fire at long range. Maybe even dodge a missile. It's a good change in my opinion. It really helps, especially players that aren't able to micro their ships all the time. It'll help them a lot being able to keep range, keep close to some cover, and still give them a good chance to evade fire. Yep, that was indeed a lot of defenders. They do a good job, even against S2s. If you take enough ammo, they can get the job done. So take a look at this overview. Looks like this armed Corvette has moved in. It's managed to kill the LRT tug. More than likely, that will... Yep, it already has flipped to B. There's nothing on this side to contest that, really. This one monitor has other plans. It looks like it's flying back to go to the other side. Meanwhile, on this right flank, you're swinging back and forth. Oh, I thought he was talking to me for a second there. Looks like the ANS has decided to finally push. Defenders really good against containers. Likely none of these will hit. Oh, as I say that, one gets through. But it is only one. The battleship sort of on its own. It's already taken hits on its right side. Its point defense is degraded on that side. So if that container player is able to chuck a whole lot more at that battleship, will certainly be doing a lot of damage. Let's check on the missile count here. Still got about half of his S3Hs remaining. Oh, but here comes some containers at this armed Corvette. They do hit. There's no chaff. There's no defenders. Maybe some AMMs, but it wasn't enough. And that Corvette is out of the game. Let's see. Maybe the container ship is feeling brave. He's going to go cap it on his own. Maybe, maybe not. It looks like it's making its way over there. Hard to tell. Thanks for the follow, Helio Wolf. Hope I got that name right. Meanwhile,
the enemy is securing Zone Atlas.
Looks like the monitor fleet, it only has plasma left at this point, I believe. It's fired. Well, it has some rockets left. Probably not enough to do serious damage to this battleship. They are, however, firing plasma. Not a great matchup. Plasma might be able to take out. Looks like its comms antenna is already out. It still has its forward-facing radar panels on the right here. That's gonna allow him to continue to fire.
The enemy is securing
Looks like the bullseye is up as well. So here comes more fire. And crucially, more rockets. Looks like some of them will make it through. But after those armor changes, it's just a pot hit on the surface. No critical damage to the battleship. Taking a look around, most of the action seems like it's centered here. Oh, another S3H volley goes out. Let's see how that fares against the rotary flak being shot by these monitors. Rotary flak, probably one of the best defenses OSP has. It's not enough, though. Down goes another monitor. This CL just stacking up the monitor stamps on its hull. Meanwhile, S2 volleys coming in from this rail Acello. Must have missed the S2 probably on its behind there. But seems like there's still enough point defense up to take those out. They're being fired in very small waves. But on the whole, this battleship is not looking too happy. Its front turret goes down. And it looks like it only has one panel on its right side remaining. Not sure if that is enough to allow him to keep vision. Let's see what this CL is up to. It's fired more hybrids. It looks like some of those are in fact hitting the rock. A little bit of a mistake there. Not sure if they were set to hot launch or got jammed. That is unfortunate. That leaves that CL with only 4 S3Hs left. Once those are gone, it has nothing but its single 250 cannon on the top. Meanwhile, as predicted, that container did go to B. This monitor is pushed up. It will take D. There's nothing to stop it. It's armed with plasma T-30s. That's more than enough to scare off any of these unarmed or lightly armed corvettes. That leaves ANS in the predicament of having only 2 combat ships left, one of which has just fired the last of its missiles. Unfortunately, they again slam into the rock. Not sure if they're crews or really what they're heading towards. It's possible they got jammed again. But unfortunately, that Atlatl is taking a trip out into the black. This battleship, meanwhile, it's not firing anymore. Looks like those panels have completely been destroyed on its
The
right
enemy
side.
secured zone dagger.
It's a little hard to tell. So this is front top right, front back right, front back right. I guess that's this one. A little bit of some funny chat happening there. Yeah, I wish too that they would stop slamming S3Hs into. Oh, that is unfortunate, Mr. Meanie. Trying to see. Looks like he's firing his rail into a monitor. Oh, it does manage to hit. Let's see what that's done. Spread minus 20%. Turn rate. Interesting. If a couple more... Ooh. That was unexpected. I guess that was a sprinter going critical. I was awfully close to this battleship, and yep, it is baked. Or perhaps that's simply the plasma damage. Oh, here come the containers. There's very little left alive on this right side. Looks like it's perhaps managed to restore some of its radar panels. It's firing again, at least. I can tell you. A Corvette exploded. Nth Lily. Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind with so many explosives running around the place, cargo containers firing HEI, rockets firing HEI, there's a good chance, if not to set a critical on a reactor that can go critical, to at least cause a fire that will eventually be able to cook it off and make it explode. Unfortunately, in this case, this poor battleship, it's capable of maneuvering, I believe, but isn't too much for it to do. Meanwhile, this light cruiser is firing its single 250 cannon at these monitors, hoping to do something. Oh, but here come finally some of
The enemy
the
is securing
T-30
zone
armed
comms.
monitors have done whatever it was they were doing for the rest of the match. And with that, there's absolutely no armor remaining on this. That Hexy is going to go straight in, destroy everything, and that will solidly put the game in OSP hands. There are a couple of Corvettes left alive. There's more than enough hulls the OSP has access to. So at this point, it's really just a matter of cleaning up. Let's take a look at this cargo container ship. It still has 16% of its container left. Looks like these are going to be fired at these corvettes. They are tracking. Looks like these blankets are not going to be able to protect it. No. See if it has any restores. I doubt it does. So without its drive, it's going to tumble away from that point and leave it in the hands of OSP. See what's happening with this battleship, continuing to take cargo container hits, continuing to be shot by T-30s. Oh, looks like instead the T-30s have moved on to this light cruiser. Unsure if they know that it's a missile CL and basically disarmed. But it never hurts to fire at the ship that's moving, and this battleship is not going anywhere, so not a bad choice. Meanwhile, Another brave corvette. This one is armed, does have defenders. Will probably be able to kill these
The
4
enemy is
containers
securing
that have been
Zone
shot
Charlie.
at it. That might allow the ANS a little bit. Oh, but there's another T-30 plasma monitor up here. This is an interesting configuration with the point defense on the nose. I suppose this has been done in order to give a front out and good firing angle on this laser. The grazers, of course, when they fire their laser, they lock onto one missile and fire, basically guaranteeing that whatever it is they're shooting at will be killed. Here come the containers. Let's see when the defenders are going to engage. There they go. So by putting it on the nose here, they're guaranteeing that at least one missile of whatever's being shot at it will die. So I suppose in a formation, I believe there's 3 of them in total, that might be enough
The enemy secured
to
Zone
save
Common.
the monitors from at least a lighter missile strike. So those defenders doing work against those containers, none of them hit. It's still alive. It's captured the point. Let's go check in on that CL. It is completely dead now. Didn't really have any way to engage these monitors. And with that, this battleship, I'm sure, is not far behind. It is firing. Unfortunately, it's missing one of its main 3-barrel. Yes, it is done. We can tell that. So, as I mentioned earlier, ways to tell that a ship is dead. The other way is there is this smoke cloud. You can see it really well on this dark map here. It's kind of this dark, almost spiderweb looking texture here. And if that magic smoke comes out, the ship is also guaranteed dead. Uh, I've heard some people say, just look for the lights going out, but that's not exactly true. The lights go out when something critical to actually commanding the ship goes out. So, like if their CIC takes a hit, the ship can't receive commands anymore. That will go out, but things like that can be restored. It's only one of those 2 things that are absolutely guaranteed. No coming back for the ship. Looks like this battleship has remembered it has engines. It's maneuvering again. Not firing, though. All radar panels on this side are down, and it doesn't have any comms available. It's firing at visual tracks since these ships are so close. Perhaps able to punish this one ever so slightly. And that is something to keep in mind if you are picking on something large like this. And in this particular case, it doesn't matter so much because it's so damaged and these ships are relatively fresh. It does take out a T-30 turret, though. Maybe more will follow. By moving this close, you don't really gain any additional accuracy for your weapons. This is well within the 7.2 kilometers that these 100 millimeter turrets need in order to fire. But in return, they've made it so... Ooh, more containers slamming in. That will silence the guns finally. And with that, this battleship finally will die. There it is. Good game, well played OSP, and well played
The enemy is
ANS.
securing Zone Common.
I'm sure all the players learned a valuable lesson, and we all grew together as a community. Kumbaya.